Rob, let's get to it. Last night, as we were doing the show, we had no idea what in the world was going to be on television while we were doing the show. We knew it was Thursday night football, but I don't think anyone could have foreseen the type of demolition that took place last night on Thursday night football, and that was the Las Vegas Raiders, who, let's keep it real, aren't that good. Okay? They shouldn't be beating any other professional football team 63-21. But that is what they did last night to the hapless Los Angeles Chargers. It was 42-0 at halftime, and it could have been obviously a lot worse. There was a part of me that wanted to see them put up a 70 piece. There was a part of me that wanted to see them top what Denver had done, or what Miami did to Denver earlier in the season when they beat them 70-20. But they only beat them 63-21. Antonio Pierce, the new coach there now, I believe is 2-2 with the Raiders. They're 6-8. The Chargers 5-9. And it was so bad, Rob. It was so evident that the Chargers had quit. I'm not saying they purposely were giving up scores and fumbling the football and all that, but emotionally, spiritually, this team did not believe one iota in their head coach and what he was telling them to go out there and do, what the game plan was. And I don't care what they said, whether they said they did or not. You could see it. They're just not that bad. And after the game, everybody knew they were going to get fired. Richard Sherman said on the broadcast on Amazon, Rob, that he thought they should have fired. He's kind of joking, but still, they could have fired Brandon Staley at halftime. But they went ahead and fired him this morning. And I don't like, we don't like to see anybody lose their job, but he should have been fired, and he was.
And here's the other thing. Not only that, Chris, we've been talking about him for years.
We've been almost saying this since his first year when he was going for all
the crazy moves and all that stuff. But this is, I'm going to say this. You ever wonder why certain teams can't win? Like they can't win big, Chris, and you go, I just don't understand. Chargers got players. They've had franchise quarterbacks. They had Marty Schottenheimer was a great coach. You know what I mean? Like won a lot of games, but they never win.
Damian Tomlinson,
Rivers, we could go on and on. They had players. Don Air Coryell, Chris, right? Dan Faust,
yeah.
Kellen Winslow's a Hall of Fame.
Joyner.
Kellen Winslow was a Hall of Fame. It's a Hall of Fame.
Remember John Jefferson, great receiver? Yep.
Charlie Joyner, all that. Okay. But last night's firing is a perfect example on why certain teams don't win. How in the world was that the breaking point for an organization that's serious about winning, Chris? And I'm not poo-pooing the performance. I'm not. It was awful.
Right.
But you're telling me that you finally got moved to make a change when your star franchise quarterback is out, when the quarterback who's playing sounds like a baseball bat, and you're playing the Raiders on the road that have nothing to play for either. I mean, that's the game that bothers you. Not when you're up 27. Not when you're up 27-0 against Jacksonville, Chris, in the postseason. We
talked about that.
That's not the game that motivates you to say, how in the world did this happen? Oh, my God. This will never happen to me again as an owner or as a front office. It didn't bother them then. But this meaningless game when you fell out of the playoffs and you have Easton Stick. Hello, East. Is this on? Easton Stick as your quarterback? That's the game, Chris, that you're bothered by? Really? Oh, well, it's a division rival. The Raiders, you just said it, Chris. They're 6-8 going nowhere fast. That game bothered you? It was awful. But it should have been the 27-0 game that you gave up on the road to Jacksonville in the postseason. that should have been Brandon Staley's last nail in the coffin, Chris, not last night.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about it then, Rob. The issues have not, they've been there his whole tenure. First year, I'm not against going for it on fourth down. We obviously see it a little more and more. You didn't used to see it really at all. Now you see it more often. But he was going for fourth downs, Rob, that were ridiculous. And it cost his team. And ever since he's been there, they've blown a lot of fourth quarter leads.
Don't forget, even players who were injured were tweeting WTF.
Leaders. Kellen Moore.
Right.
Austin Eckler making comments like we're not well coached,
Right.
And the other thing, Rob, is he's a defensive guy, right? He was a DC for the Rams, and he goes to the Chargers and, supposed to be great defensively, of course. And, Rob, they had a top 10 defense in terms of yards allowed the 3 years before he got there. The 3 previous years before he got there, they had a top 10 defense. The 3 years he was there, it was ranked 20th or lower. This year was 29th when he got fired. 29th. How do you turn a top 10 defense that had Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and Derwin James into one of the worst defenses in football?
It doesn't even make sense.
And Rob, and you and I pointed this out. We said it, and it was addressed to them first things first. They gave me props for it because it sounded crazy at the time. We both said it, though. Week 3, they're 0-2. Lose to Miami in the first game, and they lost their second game of the season. I can't remember exactly who it was. I'll find it out in a minute. But they were 0-2, and they weren't two embarrassing losses. It was the Dolphins and the Titans. Close games. Okay, no shame in those losses. But week 3, Rob, they are playing the Minnesota Vikings. They're up 28-24 with less than 2 minutes left. 4th and 1.
And he goes for it.
On their own 24-yard line. Now, remember, they're up 4. A field goal from Minnesota does not tie it to force overtime or anything.
Right.
They need a touchdown. And this dude goes for it. And that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life. They missed it. They failed to get it. Minnesota gets the ball 1st and 10 at the 24-yard line of the Chargers. Only thing that saved the Chargers was that Kirk Cousins threw an interception.
Yep.
And they won that game, but you and I both said he still should be fired because, Rob, and we're not trying to grandstand. We weren't then and we're not now. Those players work too hard.
To take a game away from them and for your coach to do it makes no sense. It doesn't make sense.
They work too hard for somebody that does not. He works hard for what he does as a coach. That's hard work too. But it ain't putting your body on the line. It's not the pain physically that you go through as a football player. I only played through high school and it was painful. So to put all the pain and sweat and tears and mental strength and emotional strength that they put into their craft and to have a guy almost give up a game, I don't know, Rob, because are you trying to show you're the smartest guy in the room? Are you trying to be a superhero? Punt the ball. They had only scored 24 points the whole game. It wasn't like they were going to march, your defense couldn't stop them and keep them from scoring a touchdown. So, look, Brandon Staley, I'm sorry, good riddance, man. It was a terrible job. I don't take pleasure in saying that, but it just
Chris,
was.
you're not talking about him as a man,
Right.
a husband, a father. So people get off of that, okay? We talk about all the time. Sports has a short menu, wins and losses. That's all that matters, Chris, and counts. That's what we're talking about, the job that he's done as a football coach, nothing else. and it's a terrible job. If we're going to give the guy millions of dollars for coaching when you win, then they're going to take the job away.
Lose. He still got his millions.
They're going to take your job away. That's how it goes.